Okay, let's sit on the edge of the chair. And let's look at the toes and lift all 10 toes, if you have 10, and lower them. So we're just lifting the toes and we're lowering them. Notice how hard it is, how easy. Is there one toe that's a little retarded than the other and doesn't get the neurological input like the other one? Maybe do it with your eyes closed and see if you can sense the toes leaving the floor and the toes coming back to the floor. Is one side of your foot works harder? Can you feel this outer side along the little toe lifting more, or do you feel the big toe lifting more? Are you leaving the floor at the same time and coming to the floor at the same time? Try to do it really slow so you can sense what it is that you do. And see if you can, if your big toe is ahead of everything, try to make it wait a little bit and do it together. Notice if your fingers are getting tight in your hands, and see if you can relax them. And if you want to open your eyes and look to see if you are able to do what your mind is telling you to do. Is the telephone lines between the head and the toes is working well today. And the next time that you come up, lift your big toe first. And then bring the other four. And let go completely together. And big toe first. That's okay. And then the other. It's all in the brain. It's not really down at the foot. What we need to get flexible is in the brain. And big toe. And 4 toes joining. And let go. And even if it's not responding yet, keep on visualizing it and telling yourself big toe, the rest, and let go. Any tempo that you want, but not fast. And don't get discouraged. Just keep on visualizing it and sending the orders. It's all in the brain. It's all, the neurological hookups are all there. We don't lose it, we just don't use it.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, I can feel it here, but it's not reaching here.
Good. Good. And let it go, rest. See if you can feel the energy in your toes. Take a deep breath and we'll back to come to the here and now. And now we're going to bring the 4 toes up and leave the big toe down. And then we're going to lift the big toe and we're going to let it go. And we're going to lift the 4 toes up without the big toe, and then we're going to allow the big toe to join and let go. And the toes, and then the big one, and let it go. And if it's very, very difficult, one of the technique you can do is just focus on one foot and see if that foot is more responsive, and then try the other foot and see if that foot is maybe one at a time is a little easier to communicate between the brain.
Yeah. That's funny.
And let it go, rest it. Ah. Take a breath in, then breath out. Put your hands on your thighs, and we're going to spread the fingers, and we're going to spread the toes. So we're going to trying to create a duck feet on the floor. On the floor. How much space can you get between all the toes? As some toes don't want to separate. And let it go. We're helping with the hands as well. We're not just asking the feet, we're doing with the hands and the feet, which is easier. The hands are way more mapped in the brain than our toes, because we use it for writing, for painting, for eating, for picking, for arranging.
Right, exactly.
So we have a much clearer mapping in the brain of the fingers. So spread as well as the toes on the floor, try not to lift. We're trying to spread. And what's the space between the toes and the duck? The webs, right? Web? Yeah. And spread. And let go. And spread. And let go. And again, if it's hard, then you can try one hand and one foot and see if that works easier. So let's try the right side of the body. Keeping the toes on the floor and separating, keeping the fingers on the thigh, separating and letting go. And separating without lifting and go. We're still in the right side. And pay attention how does it feel, if it's really awkward and hard. Because now we're going to do the left leg and the left hand. Separate. And let go. And see if you can do it with gliding on the floor, not lifting the toes up. And spread. And let go. And spread. And let go. Spread. What I do is I kind of anchor my big toe to the floor and I move away from the big toe. Keeping the toes on the floor. And let it go and rest.
I'm so doing so much strain with my fingers to try to help.
So shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. Now we're going to try something else. We're going to do the right foot and the left hand. So we're crossing hemispheres. So the right foot and the left hand. Maybe it's easier. Without trying, we won't know. Good, it's starting to move.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
starting, yeah, you're getting the connection. Anchor the big toe to the floor, Susan, and try to move away from the big toe.
I should have worn my yoga socks.
Becoming duck. You feel pretty imbeciles, huh? When I was younger, way younger, when I was dancing, I was training myself to be able to lift each toe by command. But it's hard.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
People eat with their toes.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah.
So what type of, were you doing like a modern dance?
I was mostly modern dance, yeah.
Yeah, because ballet would be your
Yeah.
shoes.
I mean, I did ballet too, and I was teaching ballet as well, but that wasn't my. No. It's very hard to put me into a dogma and into a box. Okay, let go the right leg and the left hand. Take a minute to observe, to breathe, to bring yourself to a place of clean start without effort. Notice if you have an effort somewhere, maybe in your jaw, maybe in your shoulders, just let it go. And then we're going to try to move the left foot with the right hand. You don't have to go all the way to the end of the range. Just see if there's communication. We are opening possibilities in the brain. And when you notice the tension, you let it go. That's the only way to move forward, is to notice it. And next time maybe do a little less of it, or catch it up a little faster. Try to anchor the big toe to the floor and spread away from it. Big toe to the floor. So the left foot, the big toe is on the floor. That floor, and the heel is on the floor as well. I'm going to do it for you just a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. My toes are real curled. Makes me think I'd like to oil them before we start. You know, I didn't really wake them up.
And not do less, just a lot of tension. Just think about gliding and coming back. Even less, just glide and come back. All right, and let it go. Put-bum, 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 put-bum. Just the heel, breaking it up. The heels and the link system in the lower legs. Put-bum, 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 put-bum. Again, put-bum, 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 put-bum. Last time, put-bum. Press your hands into the thigh and inhale deep. Stretch the lungs, hold the breath, scan the terrain inside you. And when you need to exhale, exhale nice and slow, and just allow everything to fall into place. We're going to put all toes down to the floor, and we're going to lift the area between the little toe and the big toe. We're going to make this arch come up. It's like we're trying to get to a shoes that are one number smaller than we were. It's a Cinderella story. Yeah? So we're not going to crunch the toes. We're not going to do that. The toes are flat on the floor, and we are lifting that arch that for many of us when we grow older, it starts to drop down, mostly because of posture. And let go. And lift. It's like you're pulling that arch up, even if it doesn't move, just keep on. Toes are on the floor. Toes are flat on the floor, and you're lifting in between the two sides. Even if it's only in your mind. Your right foot is a little behind. Yeah,
This
it's
one?
your right one.
Yeah.
Try one at a time. I think it works better for you, the one at a time. Toes are nice and flat.
I found you.
So what we're doing, we worked a whole section on the foot, but right now we leave our feet flat and we're lifting the arch between the big toe and the little toe without crunching the toes. So you sit on the very, very edge of the chair where you feel the sitting bones. And the pads of the toes are on the ground and you are lifting the arch between the big toe and the little toe.
Okay.
In both feet are parallel to one another. So you want to bring your right foot a little forward to the same place that the left one is. A little bit more forward. There. And try to lift only on the right leg, foot. And try to do it evenly so the right side is lifting as well. That the little toe is lifting as well. So you're trying to get to a smaller shoe. So all toes. It's like, we call it Cinderella. And now we're going to go to where the heel is touching and the tip of the fingers are touching and nothing underneath, like you're on coals and you don't touch. It's really hot, you're trying to get to the beach. And you're on the tip of your feet, toes, without crunching, long toes, just the very, very tip and the heels, lifting arches on the outside and on the inside. And spread and relax. And get into a smaller shoe and lift until it's the heel and the tip of the toes and let go. And start lifting the arch in the front and then lift the middle, the inside arch and the outside arch. You're barely touching the floor. See if you can lift the toes off the floor. So you're only on the heel and let it go. And when you do that, if you are lifting the toes completely off the floor, notice what the hip is doing. So sit on the edge of the chair and start lifting the arch and lift. Can you feel the tension in the hip? Like this. And if you are lifting or almost lifting the toes, move the pelvis even more forward and move the pelvis a little bit back. And move the pelvis a little bit forward and a little bit back. And a little bit forward and a little bit to the center and just let it go. Let it go. Move the heels underneath your knees. And now bring the toes up, only the toes. And see if you can bring all 5 toes on each foot at the same time. Don't go to the pillow underneath, just the toes. So many of you are doing this. But we're not doing this yet. We're just lifting the toes, like we did in the very beginning of the class. Lifting and letting go. So put your hands here and allow the fingers to lift and let go. Allow the fingers and the toes to lift and let go. And now allow the hip to respond to that lifting and to that going back to center. So the pelvis will rock forward, like you're falling off the chair, and back. And the more we integrate those tiny little connections, the better we are in terms of everything is helping in the movement. Good, your big toe is not bleeding anymore. So fingers and toes. And get, the next time we're going to end up with fingers and toes and we're going to become sphinx. So lift your chest like a wonderful sphinx. And get your shoulder blades to go back. And relax. And lift the toes and the fingers. Rock the pelvis forward and let it grow through the spine into the sternum. And let it go. And toes and fingers. And let it go. And your job is to follow the spine. As the pelvis starts rotating forward, see if your movement up the spine is continuous all the way into your neck and head. Even if it's a very small one. So Susan, bring your feet a little closer there, so you have a little bit more base. So toes and fingers. And maybe your elbows lengthen, and your chest comes up, and you're proud all the way to the base of your head. Pride in terms of just like perfectly stable on your hands, in the Arab basin that your spine is doing. And when you're done, you let go, the fingers relax, the toes relax. You come to a place where you're ready to begin, and you lift you. And play with your feet and feel different places. Which one gives you the best place to get into the Sphinx? So we start from neutral. And as you're lifting the toes and fingers, where is the weight in your foot? Can you feel the little toe pillow just as much as the big toe pillow? You know those pillows? Those are the pillows. I don't know how to call them. And both of them to give you support. Is your heel in the center, or is your heel has more weight to one side than the other? See if you can notice it, play with it. And be quiet for 2 minutes or so you can find your own. Try to lead with your left side. Make sure that your left side is lifting just as much as your right side. See if it's possible. Change the place of the legs so they get as little pressure into them as possible. Good. And the next time you finish, just rest for a minute. And I know what Susan wants and needs. Put your fingers on underneath the patella, the kneecap. And we're going to allow the head to drop down, get heavy, and hang as a pendulum. So the head, only the head is hanging in between your legs. Keep the head hanging between your legs, just like that. And move only the eyes towards your belly button and forward towards me, but don't lift your head. And move the eyes towards your belly button, or maybe even your nose, and up towards your forehead and towards me, but don't move your head. Notice which side of your neck is working harder. And try to reduce the effort. Try to smooth the eye movement so it doesn't jump, but it goes on a straight line as much as possible. You have the floor to guide you, you have the space between your legs to guide you, and you have your belly button to guide you. So from the belly button, out and forward, and back on the ground into the belly button. And out on the floor, forward. And let the eyes go. Press the palm of your hands into your legs and bring yourself back up one vertebra at a time. And now try to create a circle between your hip and the head. The hip goes backwards and the head comes forward. And they're trying to, as if you had a tail, and we're trying to reach one another in the center. And then let go and separate. So it's not how far I can go down. I'm trying to bring the tail and the head towards one another and back up. So it's like a closing and an opening that is as smooth as possible. It's not about a distance at all. When you're down, really close to your hip and your hip is close to your head, you support yourself with your hand and you push the feet into the floor. You get all the help that you can get. Some of us, our vertebrae are not as strong as they used to be when we were younger, and they tend to chip and break. And we want to use the floor as a push-up. We want to use the hands on the strong muscles and just keep moving the back. So rounding, pelvis to head and head to pelvis. Hand to the legs and feet to the floor. And if you want to get all the way to the arabesque, go ahead. If you just want to go to the straight, stop at the straight. If you do go to the arabesque, the head and the pelvis are moving in unison. And when you're ready to come back, it's the hands pushing into the legs and the feet pushing into the floor. Now the pelvis is on your chair and your feet are on the ground and your hands are creating the triangle where you can build a beautiful sphinx. Let's stay in the sphinx for 1 second and lift your eyes up to the ceiling and lower your eyes down to the ground. And see if you can create a smooth eye movement. Use the guidance on the ceiling, use the lines on the floor to try and help the zigzagging that the eyes want to do. Are you able to keep the rate of the eye movement steady through the up and the down? Is there a place where it jumps? You can do it with the eyes closed or open. I like the open because I use the floor and the ceiling as a guide. And rest. Just come to the center. How is it?
I'm cramping.
Cramping?
Yeah. I haven't been swimming since it got cold, so I think I'm a little frozen. Ah.
Papa, papa. It's the heel. It's kind of activating the limb system in the legs. Papa, 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 papa. Inhale and exhale. Let's lift the heels up and put out a cigarette. Yuck, pull it out. So try not to lift the toes, you're just really trying to squish the cigarette out. It's not a good image. I don't know what that is. And let it go. Lift only one. And maybe bring the toes a little bit towards you so they're underneath the knee. And do the same thing. So so there's many ways to do it. So let's explore it a little bit. So if the toes don't move, we're going to move the foot on top of the toes. So it's the heel that's going to be shearing or shifting weight from right to left. Try not to lift the toes and not to move them. The other one, and rest. Sorry. The other one is lift the heel. Let's do the other foot, I'm sorry. Lift the heel and move the foot above the toes. So you're doing this, you're lifting the pillow.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not a bad thing, it's just that you're not opening up to the opportunity of moving it in different ways. So we're just exploring different ways. You're doing the same thing, you're lifting the pillow off the floor.
Yeah.
So what we're doing right now, we're working with the tendons that come from the leg into the foot. Those are the tendons that gives us stability. They're constantly working. So when we're standing, they're constantly doing this, constantly in a small.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very deep in the foot. You should feel it like in the ankle. And let it go. And then we're going to go back to the first foot. And now we're going to allow the toes to swivel with the foot. And suddenly you'll notice that every toe has a different character. It's like a personality. And that's why they get those funny shapes. They didn't look like this when we were kids, did they? Like when I go towards my little toe, my heels drop. See if you can lift, keep it high. So most of us, I think, when we would go to the little toe, and now there is like this shearing to the side, dropping, right? Drop, come up. Drop, come up. Drop, come up. Drop, come up. So the coming up will create strength here from pulling the ankle. You know, when we do this. So shearing to the right, dropping and coming up, and shearing back to the inside. And out, and trying not to let the heel drop. And rest. Hard work, huh?
Yes, it's
Surprisingly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And other leg, other foot. Coming up, and now we're moving the toes with the foot. The leg wants to come with it. And are we able to keep the heel up? Get into the little toe, drop the heel, lift the heel. 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 And now just the toes. And rest. Sit on the edge of the chair, legs underneath your knees. Lift all toes, only the toes at the same time. And so the big toe is coming up with the little toe. And everybody's doing just, which we couldn't do in the beginning.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Let's try to lift only the big toe. And drop it. And lift the four toes. And drop it. And lift the big toe. And drop it. And lift four toes. And drop four toes. Four toes.
Do it with my right one.
Yeah, your left leg is like. And now anchor the big toe to the ground and become a duck. Separate the toes and relax. And separate the toes and relax. And now get into a little shoe. Lift the arch. Get into a hot sand and get barely touching, and now roll to the outside of your feet. Allow the legs to open. Come up to the hot sand and roll to the inside. Yeah, maybe we need to move out because of the knees. Because of the length of the legs. And up to the hot sand and to the outside. And inside. And outside. And find a way that's expressing you. How do you want to go from the inside to the outside? Do you want to do 4 toes first and then the big toe? Do you want to do it together? Do you want to do it on the hot sand? Or do you want to lift the whole thing and just move around the heel? Which one would be your mini expression of the day to go from the inside to the outside? I'll give you an image of maybe a water fountain that's closing and now opening the water and it's going up and 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 going down. Or any other image that you want to have. See if you can breathe through that movement all the way into the top of your head. That it's not just the feet doing a movement, but from the feet it goes into your legs, from your legs it goes into your hip. Your ribs are responding, your chest is responding like the Sphinx. And feel it all the way through your whole system. And slowly come to a quiet place. And I'm going to ask you to stand up. And sense how you're standing on your feet, how you're feeling the arches, how you're feeling the pillows, the heels. And start walking a little bit. I'll walk away from you.